This is the intro for the Pontiac video. The first thing to note is he ordered some right angles in plastic and in metal. Trying to decide which is going to be the preference for getting up over this cone. And now we're just kind of looking over here. There's a pocket that we're interested in running out of right in this area, although it might go out the other side. And one of the things that we now have to kind of look at is how far down that can come. And you can see that won't be too bad. We just got to make sure that we stay to the outside of that. But that is this all the way down on the stop. You know, you got your rubber stop there. So yeah, that should clear. And then we'll come up over. One of the bigger things is making sure we've got expando anywhere that things can rub. So we're going to have to get that sorted out as well. Okay, here's what we're thinking with all of those. So I've just got this mocked up. We've got it clocked correctly now. And you can see that would be our height. So it comes up above the ring. It comes up above the frame height. And you'd be taking all this apart to do anything anyway. You can get in here and actually attach the line. This would then come down and run along the frame like we've been talking about. And if I take this block of wood out, here's your bump stop. All the way down, still plenty of wiggle room. So that would be safe. Plus, I think we were going to put a piece of rubber hose over that brake line. Even though the brake line's tough, I think they're polyethylene or something like that.
Brake line?
Yeah, these are air brake lines. This air ride stuff is based on trucker airbags and trucker stuff. So this is actually for air brakes and air suspension in semi-trucks.
But not carrying fluid.
No, air. It carries
for an air brake.
Yes, air brake. So that's what that stuff's developed for. So here, let me pull this down now. Now that we know that that is actually viable, correctly clocked. We were pretty certain it would be. So with everything apart, here you can see, and we would put a new piece that's a little straighter. So now that's got all this freedom here. So when let me get the end that's clean. When that's plugged in, it's not rubbing against this like it was before. It's not in contact with this anymore. And up in the spring pocket, you know, where my hand's coming through, you know, it's up higher than this cut point because it's pretty sharp here and here where they blasted them through. In fact, you can see how rigid that looks because this was pressed through at the factory when they were making them. So we'll be up higher than that, and I think the inside piece will also have a piece of rubber hose on it just to act as one more thing that can be rubbed against before a line fails. So here, let me grab a light for you and kind of show them that. So you can see up in the spring pocket, it would be to the inside, which is this side over here. So right up in there. And I think that's going to be a much safer routing than they had it twisted around this, run over this, and into a notch into the frame, and then running down in the frame, which not my favorite location for running things like that, because that's where the mice live, that's where the rocks and the mud go, that's where the rust starts, that's where things are vibrating against plastic lines and putting holes in it, and you can't even tell. No way you can inspect any of that. No way you could patch and repair it. So let's put it out where we can actually service it. All right, we have a solution now. So we ran and got some rubber hose. It's a hair snug, but the stuff that fit really well was $5 a foot. And we decided that we were okay with just slicing this a little bit and making it easier. So this will add a lot of protection. So now we're making our little up pipes. So you can see, just put a little slit in it. And the beauty here is that will take any vibration that happens against anything. And now it's got to work through this rubber long before it gets to that line. Well, we'll be dead by then. So that's going to work out pretty nice. So let's go ahead and get these things built up, and we'll start looking at getting them back in the car. Okay, we just got one hung. So you can see we've got it all together. It's ready to go forward. And then one of the things we wanted to know, now that we spent all that time learning what the index is, I marked the outside, this towards the spindle. Now we haven't clocked the bottoms yet, but we can get those from the spring pockets. Okay, now we're checking our final indexing before we tighten everything up. And I gotta say, I'm pretty happy with the angle we're at. I think we're pretty close to indexing because it's all a compromise to make sure this bag isn't rubbing something and getting a hole in it. So I think we're getting pretty close, but now you can see why I put that notch. It's right here, and that helps me realize where everything is. So yeah, so it's more pointing to the brake caliper, not the spindle. Ready to snug it all up now. We wound up with the notch straight back into the frame, and then look at all this clearance to the bag. And we just kept trying to get this as flat as we could with it mid-stroke. So since this bolt on the bottom is loose, you can kind of pick up a little on the bag and just keep turning and turning until we're about as flat as she wants to be. We just want no stress on the airbags. The more natural it is for them, the longer they're going to last. Okay, here's how we're doing our protection solution. We're just going to cut off 5-foot lengths at a time and pop her on there. It'll protect the hose just like we did in here. So we've got the shock on this side. We've got this clip where we can get at it, you know, like we've been doing. Little jacks are so handy, you know, just use those. We're pretty happy with where the airbag is sitting. Overall, everything is looking pretty good. One thing I guess I never paid attention to, obviously with the airbags, you don't get a sway bar. So, you know, I guess that's part of the compromise you got to make for style. So, yeah, he's doing that. And then we're going to start here and work our way back on this side. And when we get far enough back, you know, we'll keep sliding more tube on and figuring out how we're clamping things, because that's one of the next things to figure out. Seems tedious to some, but we're trying to show our thought process here. So you can see, using a couple zip ties, just not really to hold it, but just to convince it, because we don't want that really going anywhere. We don't want this going anywhere. And now look at the clearance to the A-arm. See? So fully raised, the A-arm isn't pinching anything. So that's going to work great.
Back on now.
Okay. So we're just drilling a pilot hole for a tech screw, because the way we're going to, well, slow, I don't want to break this bit. That gets expensive pretty quickly. So the way we're going to do it is with a self-tapping tech screw, but let's give it a head start. We're going to take these insulated rubber clamps, clamp them across like that so that it makes a ledge, holds our airline up on the frame where it's nice and safe and protected, but we need it clamped in a few spots to kind of keep it out of everything and to keep it wanting to stay where we want it. So you can see how she's routed up here in the wheel well. So I want to bring her around. See, that's the line coming out right there over the wheel well, around the mount, under the body, and then we're going to keep her up above the frame everywhere we can. And that's going to keep that nice and safe and out of the way. So, okay. Here's the fun part. We don't like the order they pop the hoses in, so he's going to, well, 2 of them we were replacing anyway. So he's going to remove all these bazillion zip ties that they've got going on here in our modified NASCAR harness. And we're going to rearrange them so that when they come in, see the little whoopty swap there? We're going to take that out of there. We're just going to have the lines come in under the car where we want them, because that seems to make more sense. Alright, we're just playing the undoing their work game. We're pulling all these old clamps that were put in with some pole barn screws, green ones. So somebody had a green pole barn and a bunch of leftover pole barn screws. So we're taking those out of there because they're not really appropriate. They're probably not hurting anything, but you know, they weren't really designed for this application. So we got to loosen all that, and you can see our notes. We're going from the way they had them to the way we want them, so that they're going to come across the top of that tank all nice and tidy and go right into their clips. So that'll be the one for the left front. You know, we're doing right front right now. Remember, you're doing right front right now. So we sat and figured it out so we know where these go. Those holes are right back there. Now they'll come across and be easy to identify, easy to service, and more importantly, when you're playing with the little app, it's going to work correctly. So we felt that was important. Let's see, you know, we got, I don't think you can see, but we got that clip up. We got this one up. So now you can see the way we're routing the line. And now he's just working on getting all that routed over. In fact, it'll be this piece right here. And then we're just going to stuff all that length into the trunk for now and then sort that out later. And next time the car is down low enough, we will put one more clip right on there. We just don't want this to go anywhere. We want it to be nice and out of the way. And then we're going to route this one pretty much the same. Not exactly the same, but really, really close. So I think that gives us the safest, easiest routing. The hose won't rub through real fast. Everything should last a while, a little longer than the last time, because it wasn't going to be long before that failed. ShopDog's in here inspecting our work. He's making sure that nobody's screwing up. Now this is a little long yet, but that's intentional because we don't know where we're going to put clamps. But once we know the length, we can just peel back a little hose and snip it off. But rather deal with that than have it too short. But you can see, well, maybe you can't. I'll show it better when we do the other one. But we've got that one run all the way. Like I said, I am going to put a clamp there, but when I do that, I'm also going to put one over there. And I don't think that's ever going to go anywhere. I think it'll be safe and it'll be fine. And ShopDog says that he approves. Decided I'm not even going to charge you for this free tech tip. Always before, well, boy, holding the camera and doing this is harder than it looks. Here, you hold the camera. So before you go lining things up, line up your cotter pin hole so that you know you'll be able to get the pin in. Because if it's straight in towards the spindle, it's really difficult. So just softly take your pliers. It is just a ball joint. And pin it so that now when I get the cotter pin on, or the castle nut on, I can get the pin in without any fight. Right. The indexing that we did on the other side lines up the same on this side. So we've got our notch to the back, which means our offset is pointed straight back. And we've got our thick part to the rear. And look at all that clearance. I mean, God, you could almost drive a bus in there. So, yeah, we finally got the index set up. We'll have plenty of room up here. We're going to be very happy. It'll be exactly like the other side. Okay, now we're working back here. So we got her picked up a little in the back. Trying to make this all nice and tidy up here. He's cutting rubber right now for the lines coming off of these shocks. I don't know how well you can see them, but we thought it'd be a little easier to remove these back bags, but not really. And we're not going to pull those just to make it easier to put the hose on. We'll fight the fight. So what do you think, ShopDog? Is he doing a good job under there? It's hard to know, isn't it? You should inspect. Let's see how this is going. You can see Diesel's playing the line game. It's loads of fun, but it's going to make life easier later. It'll also make any service easier later. You know, I think a lot of people forget that someday you're going to be old and this is going to break and you're going to have to fix it and you're not going to remember what the heck you did. So try to make it as logical as you can. All right, and to run in and start some dog food soup, which is the chicken rice stuff we do in the Instant Pot for the dogs that we mix in. Kind of reduce their sodium a little bit. And let's see. Oh, looks like you're still where I left you.
Oh, you should see it. This is infinitely better.
Oh,
come take a look.
Better? Okay,
Come
let me.
the driver's side.
All right, yeah, let me grab the light. All right. Okay. Oh, yeah, you changed directions completely.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is. So yeah, now he's bringing it up, over, and in. Okay. Oh yeah, that's gonna work out nice. The only thing I'm a little worried about is that exhaust. You're going to want to make sure you're up high from that.
Yeah, so that passenger side's got to get zipped up and lifted up a little bit.
Okay, but yeah, that looks pretty good. All right. So now we are a lot happier. Not only do we have the clamps up there and the clamp right there, even kind of keeping it here, but we put a right angle on that one and brought both hoses over. And then you can see everybody's in treed. And even over there, and we've got some heat shrink on there just in case. We probably don't realistically need it. You know, it's hot to the touch here, but it's not as hot as you think it is, especially on a car this long. But yeah, that is just routed so much nicer, so much safer.
We went from what, 6 clamps or 8 clamps to 2?
Oh yeah, and smarter.
Yeah.
Not fighting anything. Nothing's looped back on itself. It doesn't make sense the way a lot of things that people do on cars don't make sense, especially if they were done in your driveway or whatever. But we're a lot happier with this. This is going to work. It's going to be nice and safe. Okay, so I just got this clamp and that clamp in, and we are real happy. These should last a good long time. That's going to be a so much better solution. And you can see in here, in fact, up there, I don't know how well you guys can see it, but you can even see the fitting. You can see the zippy, just keeping the fitting from banging around. We just don't want it vibrating and doing anything. But yeah, so we're getting closer. Things are actually going back on the car. Okay, we're going to close out the Pontiac video. You can see it's starting to get dark. I got a feeling the dog food soup is probably getting close to cool enough to give the dogs their fresh dog food soup that first night. The car is back down. The wheels are back on. We are so much happier with the routing on all that air hose. You can see just how nice and safe and out of the way that is. Should have no problems. We've got plenty of length in here for now for working with. So I think one of the next things we're going to do is get the air pod back in here. You see, we just left everything long. We can always cut it down, but you can't cut it longer. So that's going to be the end of the Pontiac video. Thanks for watching.